organizing feat that our field staff pulled off, and they are incredible and wonderfully hardworking people. So make sure you hug the organizer and sign up for volunteerships, because we cannot make this a true political movement unless you guys all help us knock on some doors and get some phone calls. All right, so we just have a few notes for you. First of all, has everybody here liked the Iowa for Bernie Facebook page? Not bad. I have a vested interest in this page. So, facebook.com/Iowa for Bernie. Make sure you follow it. We have a really good community of Iowans and some carpetbaggers, but mostly Iowans. So we're gonna, speaking of that, I'm gonna go ahead and get you to pose for a picture in just a moment. What's gonna happen over the next hour and a half? We have some pre-programmed coverage that's going to go on CBS, right? That's the station this is televised at. So you get to watch a bunch of pundits say a bunch of potentially smart things, or maybe not, we'll see. And then at 8 o'clock Central Time, the debate will start on this big screen, and it is, of course, happening at Cheslow Auditorium right across the street. This is amazing. We're just 500 feet away from all the action. So make sure, you stick around. You can get concessions and whatnot in the back. That popcorn smells amazing. If anybody wants to share. And now, if you guys could, and we definitely want to get this Paris sign. Ooh, boy, it's a tough day, but let's see if we can make some noise, because we know that Bernie is the man that's going to be part of the political revolution. And it's truly going to change this country for the better, and hopefully the world for the better, including places like yours. All right, you guys, you ready? If you can go ahead. Is anybody holding up has a sign? Button. There we go. That's what I want to see. Great. If you don't have a sign, if you can go ahead and raise your arms up and look super excited to be. Oh my God!
No, I don't want you to go away. I want you to get in.
And Evan's going to tell you one more thing.
Just one more thing. I mean, I don't want to make promises, but I would like to say, if Senator Sanders isn't doing anything after the debate, you may just stop by. I'm not making any promises, but he likes to see you all. So there we go.
And Jonathan Tassini is here with the Essential Bernie book. The author, if you didn't catch him at the tailgate for the debate party, come say hi. He will sign things for you. Yay. All right, and with that, let the pre-programming begin.
Yes, yes, sir. Wash. I'm small. Sorry.
I'm now inside the Hawk City Theater. So the debate itself will be shown on the screen.
But I look like
The debate itself is taking place in another building on the Drake campus. That had a limited availability for Drake students and staff, and then they had to compete for the available slots to see. Well, think about it this way. They can watch them make fools of themselves.
Giving out signs. Who wants a sign?
Can I take a photo?
Who's gonna be all over social media tonight?
You. Check it out. All like this.
Hashtag feel the burn. Hashtag
Go like this. Go like this. Hey, listen to me. Take the sign, and then you're going to lift the sign, and then you're going to go like that. Hold it together with your fingers.
Do you want?
I've got so many signs. I got it. Okay, you got it?
Oh, one over here. One over here, sorry.
Okay, guys, you know I'm required to take your picture now, right?
Yeah, hold it
One
And
over
all
here.
these other people are going to do it too. They're
Yeah,
like,
everybody get
you
around.
kids with Bernie signs,
Hold
take
your
their
fist up in the air.
picture.
That's the solidarity fist, right?
Wait, are you hiding? Don't hide behind the picture.
We're like you. You gotta hold up the sign.
Oh, I thought you were doing fight the power, but it was just your popcorn in your hand.
You're young and you can handle the what? No. Okay. Good.
Okay, hopefully that'll get me one good shot.
Can you take a better picture? And you should have posed to it. Actually, hold that thing up with the solidarity fist like that. That's right. Martin O'Malley is fat, and I won't take it back.
Okay, thank you guys.
Got the night fit. You guys see that one?
And then you know what? The nurses are going to be really interested. Why not?
Side by side with one, I could have done.
So, defeats Oklahoma State in the today. City Joyce in KCCI, Hot Sports Minute. 2,000 City watching the Bird just 700 in Schuylkill Auditorium for the debate for Cambridge.
We actually have exclusive access inside the auditorium tonight. Let's check in with KCCI's
You have to, like, make-
live inside.
As you can probably hear, it is very loud here in Shedlow as the auditorium continues filling up. Take a look, what a difference a half hour makes. I would say Shedlow is probably about 90% full.
Yeah, and only 8 of them are students.
floor you're looking at right now in the we're expecting it to be.
I thought there was supposed to be a larger number of students with
They
BOA.
did as a faculty, like you could put your name into a lottery, but it was faculty, staff, and students, and they only gave out about 120 tickets.
As well as the U.S. representative
Okay, no,
knows that all through the
well, like,
probability
I only know two people just have
selfies with the beautiful stage.
I've been inside there, and there surely has to be a way to get more people, you know,
I think they should,
and maybe
but I think they
Sheffield
should have
has a
let,
balcony.
I think faculty should have had their own lottery.
Yeah.
Take that, Jack.
And I found out about it too late, and so I tried to get a press credential, and I got denied. So that's why I decided to come over here.
Including John Dickerson of CBS News, were hosting for tonight's debate, and they were asking for a moment of silence for the Paris victims. We're going to send it back over to the spin field, Stephen Stacy.
I couldn't even get into the spin room.
The Drake dog.
With that panel, we'll have more from Shane and those voters right after this. These prescriptions are exactly the same, except the one on the right could come with a little more. More money to spoil the brain cancer. More money to save the traffic. More money to do the things you want to do. Because this prescription could cost you less.
I also have a feeling they didn't want independent media in there.
Visit your Hy-Vee pharmacy today for a free Medicare Part D plan.
Really? I have a black people today, but I'll just mail it.
I'm using my hotspot. I'm using my hotspot.
But are you using great Wi-Fi now?
Well,
that's what's good. Aren't you supposed to use my tablet?
I have tried to stream off of it before. It is very, very iffy at best.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi just keeps dropping. And it's picking up everything freezes. Mine just dropped. And like takes forever to find it.
They're not that good.
Harvest Plans Health. We're here, we're local, and we're connected to what matters most to Medicare beneficiaries like you and Iowa. And because we believe great health care is a luxury, we offer.
That's why I got this little thing.
So you get the attention you need without the further. Find out more about enrolling with Harvest Plans Health today by clicking on your screen. Harvest Plans Health. Connected family, connected to your needs, connected to local providers you trust. At Brookings Medical Center, we're committed to making sure everyone has a better patient experience.
I just switched to Sprint where I got a 40 gig data plan that goes in between my phone, my tablet, and the hotspot. And that was better than what I was getting with Verizon. That's just the phone and the tablet. I was paying more for 15 gigs, and now I'm going to get for 40. A live streamer, I burn a lot of data.
This is an attack not just on campus, it's an attack not just on friends, but this is an attack on all of humanity, the universal values that we share.
Welcome back on a somber day after what has happened in Paris. Nevertheless, Democratic debate, Frank University and Moynihan goes on.
Back in, our political analyst in the school of Florida. We talk about what the candidates need to do tonight.
Right, in terms of broader campaign strategy, aside from talking about the seriousness of the Paris events, Clinton has to show that she is concerned about the issues that Bernie Sanders supporters are passionate about. Because if she wins the nomination, she will need those supporters. Bernie Sanders has to show her Clinton supporters that if he were to win the nomination, he could win the election. Because a lot of Martin Luther has to show that he is a political force. Because people say they like what he says, but they just don't hear the music. He hasn't resonated in the polls. Ken has got a chance to try to establish himself as a real contender tonight. Trump keeps saying very much we want to get our party to recall and showing how corporate issues with 10 committed voters.
We might have already been.
I wanted to give you guys a breakdown of our group here. So we're saying here they're all committed voters, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're not leaning in any one direction. So I want to give you sort of a breakdown and see who we're working with here. I want you guys to tell me by show of
Line was too long. I'm going to go back.
100% uncommitted to any one of these candidates. Just a couple of people, 2 out of our whole group. Now who's leaning toward Hillary Clinton? A couple, 3, 4, 5, and Bernie Sanders.
Is that Jared Turner?
Just a couple of others. So we'll start with you, Michael. Why are you leaning toward him?
Well, I think that lean towards the governor because of his executive experience and what he's done in the state of Maryland, that he's actually implemented some of the ideas that have been talked about at the debates and on the campaign trail.
And how likely are you to change your vote at this point?
I would say it's probably 50-50. I may change depending on what I hear from Senator Sanders and Secretary Clinton tonight.
And who's leaning toward Bernie Sanders? Over here? Why is that?
I think he's been a strong voice for a lot of the social issues I have to interview with, and I think he's a little more consistent than the rest of the candidates on the issues. To see what Hillary says about the foreign policy aspect is good.
Okay, we'll be checking in and let you know if that changes as the night goes on. Stephen Stacey?
All right, Shannon, thank you. Commitment 2016 coverage of the Democratic debate continues in just a moment.
We hear applause in the the audience here in the theater like what is being said.
Yes, get your life together.
The stack on the left has all the information you need to make a decision about which Medicare Part D plan is right for you. The sheet on the right also has all the information you need to make a decision about which Medicare Part D plan is right for you. The difference? The one on the right is
Yeah, the next. Yeah, so the lighting would have been a lot better anyway because it's full ceiling lighting and it's brighter than Cheslow. It would have held a lot more people.
Cheslow's better for like.
Yeah. Get a great deal on the 2015 Honda Civic. Our best Civic yet is named KBB.com Best Buy and is the best-selling car in its class. The Civic is also loaded with standard features. So hurry in your Honda dealer today, and you can get a great deal on a 2015 Civic.
That's what it is.
Maybe it could have been chosen for the acoustic properties where Nat might have been too live. Yeah. Because of too many hard surfaces that don't have fabric or it's acoustically too loud. Whereas Cheslow, acoustically it's better sound-wise.
Yes, we do. Here at Joe's RV Center, we have RV warranty forever. It's a warranty that comes with every new and slightly free product. It lasts as long as you own your RV at no cost to you. For more information, go to joesrv.com.
During these commercials, people probably be shooting pictures of each other.
When you get that burger, just so Wisconsin cheese.
The full peppercorn mayo with the Texas burger card.
This is an ultimate bacon cheeseburger.
Our new peppercorn card. Welcome to the nation.
Back in the
spin there tonight, wrapping up our pre-debate coverage. When I check back in one more time, it was political analyst Dennis Wilford. Final thoughts.
Show us again we live in a dangerous world, and presidential elections are about leadership. Presidents have to lead the country, keep the country safe. So this matters. This debate matters. The presidential election matters.
Okay, and that means you should stay tuned. But we do need to let you know that CBS News coverage of the Paris terror attacks continues with CBS's live 48 Hours program. It's a special. Scott Pelley in Paris tonight. That hour-long special is here next on KCCI. Then, of course, the debate coverage starting at 8 o'clock. We'll see you then. Have a good evening.
Once again, we've seen an outrageous attempt to terrorize innocent civilians.
It's incredible that something like that can happen in Paris. I think everybody's really silent.
It's an attack not just on the people of France, but this is an attack on all of humanity and the universal values that we share.
After fear, I think now the mood is about resistance.
We are free. We want to keep free.
Today, the British and French people stand together as we have so often before in our history when confronted by evil.
Obviously, our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to our French cousins through this dark and terrible time.
New York City stands together today with our sister city, Paris.
This is a heartbreaking situation, and obviously those of us here in the United States know what it's like. We've always been able to count on the French people to stand with us, and we intend to be there with them in that same fashion.
French national anthem is what that is.
Good evening. Tonight, U.S. officials are calling the attacks in Paris a game changer. ISIS has claimed responsibility, which would prove it can direct strikes far beyond its base in Syria and Iraq. French President Francois Hollande called this an act of war. The terrorists struck with guns and bombs in a coordinated series of assaults. They killed 129 and wounded 352, many critically. An American is among the dead. Noemi Gonzalez was 23, a junior at Cal State Long Beach. Scott Pelley, the anchor and managing editor of the CBS Evening News, begins our coverage in Paris tonight. Scott, good evening.
Good evening, Nora. Most of the people who were killed just about 20 yards down this way at the concert hall. About 90 people killed there. The French authorities told us today that the 7 attackers that they know about have all been identified now, but they haven't released the names. Most of them were identified by DNA. Most of the bombers blew themselves up, but one of them was killed right here in a shootout with police. We're told that one of the bombers is a Frenchman born in France. He's described to us as a petty criminal who in 2010 was identified as an Islamic radical by the authorities. Some of the bombers worked in teams, others worked alone. They hit 6 sites, and in the span of just 32 minutes, darkness fell on the City of Light. It appears the soccer stadium.
How are you? I'm Bernie from People for Bernie. Oh, hi. I just wanted to meet you.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Nice Security officials believe the terrorists intended to assault the crowd of 80,000 as they poured into the game.
This is really cool. I wanted to come down. Hi, Jamal
Sanders. The president of France was there.
CNN. Hi, nice to meet you. But yeah, we sort of chatted briefly on Facebook.
Reasons we don't know.
So nice to meet y'all. Thanks for all you're doing. Definitely appreciate it. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
All the
way over here. Oh, it's so happy to have you. Oh, we have to let's do a selfie, and I'm gonna think about y'all. Should we do it together? Yeah. Ladies.
I'll move this so
were shot with Kalashnikov machine guns.
Who's on that call?
Tonight, there are about 300 wounded in hospitals, and about 100 of them are in critical condition. 4 of the attacks hit restaurants and bars, and a witness at one of the restaurants told us that he saw a gunman firing carefully and accurately, selecting a target, firing 3 times, and moving to the next. The witness said the gunman had the bearing of a soldier.
We'll put our women for Bernie. We'll send it over to the women on the portion this time, and we'll make it
Most of the dead came from the Bataclan concert where an American rock band was playing to a sold-out crowd. Witnesses say the terrorists opened fire, then barricaded themselves with hostages.
No problem, thank you. Y'all enjoyed the debate,
2 of the
thank you.
attackers blew themselves up, and a 3rd was killed in the shootout. In the attack on the one of the 3 terrorists there had a Syrian passport, which Greek officials confirmed had been used by a refugee among thousands crossing into Europe from the war in Syria. It is not clear whether the terrorist entered with the refugees or whether the passport was simply stolen. Tonight, memorials to the victims are growing by the hour. Flowers, candles, silent tribute.
I had seen that on Facebook. Someone posted a screenshot of someone's tweet. And so I shared that.
The city of Bells, and earlier this evening, 75 churches rang out a tribute to those who were lost. You could hear it all over town. Earlier today, I met a woman in a shop that had made a point to stay open. She said, "We'll be stronger after all this." And it is with that resolve that Paris will get through these nights. Nora?
Resolve indeed. Scott and Elizabeth Palmer is also reporting there in Paris. And Liz, is there a concern that there could be more attackers out there?
He dropped 0 pieces of popcorn.
The police haven't said they got all the attackers. They have said they have launched an aggressive manhunt to try and find all those who are helping. And there's a Belgian connection developing in that respect. When the attackers drove down here to the club where so many people were killed, they arrived in a rented car. And that car turned out to have been rented by a Belgian citizen. He was arrested today trying to cross the border back into Belgium from France. A short time later, Belgian police descended on a suburb of Brussels and arrested 3 more men. This is an area which is the home to some radical Islamists. And the police confirmed that one of those 3 men was in Paris yesterday, the day of the attacks.
All right, Elizabeth Palmer and Scott Pelley in Paris. Thank you. And Scott will have a special report on the Paris attacks tomorrow night on 60 Minutes. Tonight we've learned the FBI is sending a team of agents to Paris to help investigate the siege, which played out across the city in quick progression. Here's Peter Van Zandt.
Just before the chaos of the first bombs exploded, and bullets fired, the people of Paris had been enjoying an unseasonably warm fall evening. At the Stade de France, the Stadium of France, President Francois Hollande was watching the soccer match between France and Germany. It was Friday the 13th, and the bad luck would strike just outside the stadium. It was 9:20 p.m. American Steve McCurry was sitting in the stands and taking these photos on his phone.
When I heard the explosion, I thought it was maybe part of the show, some entertainment element.
McCurry says the crowd of 80,000 heard the explosion, but had no idea a suicide bomber had just blown himself up. 5 minutes later, just 4 miles away, in a Paris neighborhood popular with young Parisians, a gunman opened fire outside a crowded bar and nearby restaurant. At least 15 people were murdered and 10 critically wounded. Back
Back at the soccer game, yet another explosion. Another suicide bomber. President Hollande is evacuated. 2 minutes later, another bar is hit. 5 more people gunned down. At La Belle Équipe Bar, the carnage continues, beginning at 9:36. For 3 long minutes, gunmen fired dozens of rounds.
Probably a sports bar.
Over and over, killing 19. Among those killed last night, 23-year-old American college student Noemi Gonzalez, an exchange student studying design from Cal State in California. The carnage continues. At 9:40, more panic as another suicide bomber detonates his explosive belt right near the Bataclan Concert Hall, the site of what will become the greatest scene of mass murder. Inside that hall, a capacity crowd of 1,500, mostly young people, gathered to hear an American band, Eagles of Death Metal. Masked gunmen armed with AK-47s begin firing into the crowd. People desperately try to escape, jumping from the windows. This alleyway littered with bodies. The rock band manages to escape, but inside, reports that the gunmen are yelling, "God is great," in Arabic and talking about Syria and Iraq. Dozens of concert goers are now hostages.
We drove past the theatre in our taxi. It was terrifying. The cars were all jammed, and so we were stopped, and we were told to get down in the car, to sink as low as possible as we can into our seats. And there were men with guns, military, right next to our windows, pointing to shoot.
It's now 9:53 p.m., 33 minutes since the attacks began, when a third suicide bomber detonates his belt outside the soccer stadium. The game finally ends, France winning 2-0. But by now, word had reached the crowd, and panic set in.
Suddenly, there was a surge, and it was almost like a tsunami. It was this wave kind of pushing us along. I got nervous that I was going to be run over and maybe killed, so I actually jumped behind a fence.
Afraid of what he would find on the streets, McCurry, like thousands of others, stayed in the stadium. It would be midnight before French authorities would storm the Bataclan Concert Hall. 1 gunman killed by police, the other 2 died exploding their belts. 89 people died inside that hall. Many more were injured. The attack was finally over. And back at the stadium, where it all began, the soccer fans felt safe to leave. France had just endured the worst terrorist attack in its history. As the fans walked out, they sang their country's national anthem. But for Steve McCurry, what he witnessed last night reminded him of another tragedy, an American one.
It really took me back to 9/11, when there's just complete mayhem and bedlam.
And tonight, ISIS is vowing more attacks, but the White House says so far there is no specific or credible threat to the U.S. Former CBS News correspondent John Miller is the Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism at the New York City Police Department. John, good evening. I think the question people want to know is, could an attack like what happened in Paris happen here?
It certainly could. Here, meaning New York, we spent the last 2 years redeveloping, redesigning the field piece of our counterterrorism program to address just this. So now we have basically 1,500 police officers in uniform, in cars, with long semi-automatic rifles and heavy vests that are on patrol all the time. I don't think any other city in the world has a tactical capability on that level. And we've done that because we've been watching this. We watched Charlie Hebdo, we watched this, we watched the Mumbai attack, and we've reassessed it.
I mean, the question is, are they coming here? They've been here. ISIS has been here.
In the month of June, Nora, I think we had, well, between April and the end of June, we had a pressure cooker bomb plot inspired by ISIS targeting police that was interdicted through good intelligence and undercover work. We had a second plot that involved a plan to behead somebody in New York and to use pressure cooker bombs at the 4th of July celebrations, among the things they were talking about doing, and a couple of attacks on FBI agents and police officers in the course of breaking up those plots. So it's not a wake-up call. It's been happening here.
I mean, Paris is set to host hundreds of world leaders in 2 weeks. It's a big global climate change summit that's there. How could attacks with this level of coordination and lethality go virtually undetected?
Nora, I think what you're seeing here is what FBI Director Jim Comey calls going dark. And that is that in kind of the time following the Snowden debate about privacy and about government overreaching and all of those allegations, a series of apps have come out that are encrypted, that have messages that self-destruct, set to a timer, that can hold group chats that are completely protected from surveillance for up to 200 people. And the terrorists have found these apps and they're using it. And Nora, what I'm talking about is you can walk in the door with a court order from a federal judge, hand it over to the company and say, we need to see what's inside here, just like we did in Mumbai, just like we did after 9/11. And they'll tell you, we can't see what's inside. We designed it to be uncrackable. That's a real challenge.
And scary. John Miller, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Some of the survivors, the lucky ones after the Paris attacks, have powerful stories to tell. Here's Alan Pizzi.
The attacks were coordinated, designed for maximum carnage. The targets of terrorist zeal were places that hosted its antithesis, celebration of the joys of life. The California-based band Eagles of Death Metal, seen in this YouTube video, were playing in Bataclan, a Paris landmark whose stage has hosted the likes of Edith Piaf and Lou Reed, when 3 armed men burst in and began their killing spree. Some escaped the bloody chaos by that most basic of instincts, running for their lives. The desperation and fear that had others literally hanging on by their fingernails to survive defies imagination. This man heard what he thought were firecrackers, turned and saw 2 men firing automatic weapons. We all laid on the ground, he said. There was panic, screams. We ran and hid in a staircase. Someone was trying to get in. We managed to get onto the roof. The apartment building next to Bataclan had windows at rooftop level. A man opened one, and the escapees climbed in. We stayed the whole time at his place in the dark. We could hear explosions, gunshots, screams, but we didn't know what was going on. Across town, a capacity crowd watching the France-Germany soccer match had no idea what was going on either. Not even when an explosion was heard. The French president was evacuated, but the game went on. It was a suicide bomber, and again, a miraculous escape. This man was crossing the street. It just exploded in front of me, he said. Everything went to pieces. And one of those pieces of shrapnel hit his phone. The phone, he said, saved me. And that same soccer game saved Tunisian-born surgeon Bernabet Monkef. When gunmen attacked the restaurant area where he normally hangs out on Friday nights, he was watching the game on TV.
I saw all these men running in all the direction, people just in front here, and at the table, and the people shooting. Now, well, it's horrible. It's like war. What crazy.
It's a question that has no answer, no more than why some were saved and others were not. Some of the victims are still not identified, so the social network equivalent of the 9/11 wall of the missing is Twitter, #SearchingParis. There were green I am safe ticks, but a man named Joe wrote, "My girlfriend was at the concert. I was supposed to get engaged with her. I don't know if I will see her again." Many more were along the lines of this one in English. "I am trying to locate my cousin. Colum Hamish MacDonald. The eternal hope that resilience and tenacity for life will triumph.
I got you something to keep you warm. On the inside.
At Jared, we only sell one piece of jewelry for the holidays. The one that melts her heart. And it's waiting for you. At Jared. Come join us for the Jared Light Up the Holidays event. This exclusive event features our very best prices of the year and a new selection of beautiful pieces. The one incredible gift you've been looking for is waiting for you at Jared.
It's Judgment Day. Backseat chefs peer inside your oven, but you cleaned off all the baked-on business from meals past with Easy. So the only thing they see is that beautiful bird. They're gonna judge.
If you battle knee pain or shoulder pain, don't tough it out. Turn it off.
New Smart Relief from Icyhot for knee and shoulder. Turn on relaxing pulses that immediately block even chronic pain.
Turn on Smart Relief and turn off pain.
Sunday on 60 Minutes, Scott Pelley reports from Paris on the terrorist attacks, including a harrowing survivor's account. 60 Minutes, Sunday.
Did you pass your fasting? Yeah. I passed it. Wait, but did you get...
So close. Go in the back. Sorry.
That's okay.
Until the Paris attacks, ISIS had directed most of its brutality in the Middle East. This map shows how much of Syria and Iraq they control.
I wasn't sure what was going to be on before. It was just easier to leave it on.
Charlie Daggett reports from Erbil in northern Iraq.
When Kurdish forces took back the ISIS-held city of Sinjar, it was seen here as a strategic and symbolic victory. Sinjar had been home to the Yazidi religious minority until ISIS overran the city 15 months ago. Amini Ibrahim, a Yazidi soldier from Sinjar, told us he fled with his baby daughter when ISIS militants invaded.
What does it mean to be back here to take back your town?
He said he was happy to take part in defeating them. He told us they destroyed the town, they kidnapped girls and women, and even killed children 6 months old. Thousands of women who were unable to escape were taken as slaves. The men were massacred. Those who were able to get away spoke of the systematic rape of Yazidi women and girls. ISIS has taken its war far beyond this battlefield. In just the past 3 weeks, ISIS and its affiliates have claimed responsibility for terrorist attacks that have left nearly 400 people dead. First came the downing of the Russian passenger plane over Egypt that killed 224 passengers and crew. Then, twin suicide bombs in Lebanon that left more than 40 people dead. And now, Paris. In all 3 cases, ISIS blamed those countries for intervening in their war. The most powerful and most hated enemy ISIS faces here is the United States. It's impossible to defend against American airstrikes that have stalled the ISIS offensive, killing countless numbers of its fighters. They've already made repeated threats. Americans are the new invaders, says this militant, and we promise we will meet them on their land. As ISIS expands into the realm of international terrorism, they made clear America is in their sights. Charlie Daggett, CBS News, Erbil, Iraq.
Tonight, the U.S. is offering much more than condolences to the French after the attacks, and Jeff Pegues has more on this. Jeff, good evening.
Nora, the French may be leading this investigation, but U.S. law enforcement is digging into trying to track the terrorist path to the streets of Paris. U.S. officials are concerned the tactics ISIS used to kill there could be used here. U.S. officials say the attacks were well organized, but not sophisticated. That the explosives used were not high-tech. However, it is the organizational skill and high death count that has counterterrorism officials worried.
This is the next stage in ISIS methodology, capability, and reach.
Juan Zarate is a former counterterrorism official and a CBS News consultant.
The real dangerous and troubling part here, Jeff, is that you have individuals who are working in tandem, in some way communicating or coordinating, and those communications, that coordination, and the material that they brought with them, suicide vests and heavy weaponry, weren't caught in the French security system.
Just hours after the attacks in Paris, senior FBI officials ordered agents across the country to step up surveillance of potential ISIS sympathizers. Currently, there are about 900 cases. Last month, FBI Director James Comey testified before Congress about the threat.
The challenge we face, the folks at this table, is finding those needles in a nationwide haystack and assessing where are they on that spectrum between consuming poison to acting on poison and disrupting them before they act.
That is something French investigators weren't able to do in Paris. How do you prevent an attack like that in the U.S.?
You can't prevent every attack, and that's the problem. And when terrorists are trying to go after any soft target, strategic or otherwise, you can't protect all sites at all times. And what we saw in Paris was the terrorists winning on that fateful night.
In many ways, what happened was the nightmare scenario for Western intelligence officials. Not only were there mass casualties, but a suicide bomber was able to get close enough to the French president that he had to flee. Nora?
All right, Jeff Gaze in Washington. Jeff, thank you. After Paris, the NFL now says it will increase security at its stadiums beginning tomorrow. Aaron Moriarty got a first-hand look at the challenge of protecting soft targets in the biggest of cities.
We're going to be vigilant and we're going to be disciplined.
Rolling through New York Times Square today, a very visible sign that the city's anti-terror squad is on the job. A job that gets harder and harder, guessing where terrorists could strike next. Is this what you would call a soft target?
Absolutely. There's lots of people here. There'll probably be more at lunchtime. These people are just unsuspecting shoppers. Most of them are probably tourists.
Vincent Mera was a high-ranking counterterrorism officer for the New York Police Department in the years following the 9/11 attacks. He says what happened in Paris is a sign of what could come.
But in this situation, the way they targeted young people in late evening hours, I mean, they knew what they were doing. I mean, they targeted people who were very susceptible, people out partying. It's something that really hits home.
Mera believes this is just the latest tactic of ISIS terrorists.
Well, it looks to be terrorism evolving. It looks to be the next generation.
Focusing primarily on what the experts call soft targets.
The goal of hitting a soft target is to hit a place where there's a lot of people to kill as many people as you could.
And what's the attraction of going for a cafe or going for a shopping mall?
In my opinion, it's an easy target and it's something that upsets our lifestyle. And what they want to do is create as much havoc as they could.
Since 9/11, after security was beefed up in government buildings and airports, militants have turned to easier targets. In 2013, it was a luxurious shopping mall in Kenya. This summer, a tourist beach in Tunisia. In Paris last night, more soft targets. So in New York today, police were flexing muscle, hoping to deter the same thing from happening here. Less than 24 hours after attack in Paris, people are out living their lives.
Well, that's what New York is all about. We're resilient people, and although we've had things happen here, we forget and we move on.
The attacks in Paris forced a big change in tonight's Democratic presidential debate on CBS. That story is next.
We found more puppies. It's Medicare open enrollment. Have you compared plans yet? Or you can call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Oh, no, I hate it.
doctor usually do. Because I was there when my dad was diabetes. If you have diabetes, a burning shame remains in your head. Don't suffer in silence. And ask your doctor about diabetic nerve pain. Tell them symptoms is
Joanne? Is that you? It's me. Look at day over 70, all right?
You're Peter Pan. You stay young forever. It's what you do. If you want to save 15% more on car insurance, it's what you do. This is how you look when you shop at DXL. But this is how you look. All the brands you love. Waist size 38 now. All in one awesome store. DXL. You're looking good.
Our family was devastated when my father took his life. If you feel suicidal, call this number. With help, you can get well.
CBS Kids. Terror strikes at the heart of France. How did it happen? How was America prepared? To understand, turn to the original report of CBS Kids.
Original, maybe not.
I can say what I want to see and what I don't want to see. So would I rate this once? Yes. But when I spend an hour talking about it and giving myself an opinion, no. Yeah. But it's kind of freaking out. But I remember starting London, I was getting ready to see it. And my mom was like, oh, it's a movie, because she thought it was a movie. She thought it was a movie preview. So she's like, wait, this says live. And like, then she didn't know what to do, because I'd already seen it. I was like, oh, it's a movie preview on the Today Show.
The Democratic presidential debate that follows this program on CBS will have a very different focus in light of the Paris terror attacks. John Dickerson will moderate, and Nancy Cordes will join them on the panel, and they are both in Des Moines tonight. Good evening to you both. John, the Paris attacks have really raised the stakes for this debate. How will they change the dynamics of what you think people will see tonight?
Well, when people look at a debate, they see each of the candidates as they might act as president. But tonight, that's going to be ever more so the case because we have this first crisis that brings up all of the issues that a president faces, an unpredictable event that happens out of nowhere, and where people look to the president to both explain it and explain how things are going to get better, and that's what they'll be judging all the candidates on stage tonight. That's the judgment they'll be using.
Nancy, there are some big differences between these candidates on foreign policy. How do you think they'll play out?
I think there are two very different visions, Nora, of our place in the world. You hear Hillary Clinton is one of the most pro-intervention members of the Obama administration, say we need to take a leading role. She was one of the only people in the Obama administration who advised arming the Syrian rebels in the first place. She was in favor of bombing Libya. Bernie Sanders, on the other hand, was one of 3 senators this week who voted against increasing the defense budget, and he has argued that Middle Eastern countries should be taking the lead. The U.S. should be more focused on the problems that we face here at home.
All right, John Dickerson and Nancy Cordes will be watching tonight. Thank you. The Republican candidates for president want to make the Paris attacks a campaign issue. Major Garrett has that story.
Of course they would.
Republican reaction was swift and uniform. President Obama and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton haven't been tough enough on terrorism generally or ISIS specifically. The Paris atrocities hushed the loudest voice in the Republican presidential campaign.
I'd like to have a moment of silence.
Trump's ISIS intentions could not have been louder.
There's certain areas of the world that they took away. They're so serious on that. I would bomb them.
Are you for real? When people die, solutions to kill more people. Yeah, I thought that. Oh my God, was that amazing?
John Kasich and U.S. European military and surveillance cooperation.
Donald fucking Trump tweets. Interesting that this happened.
Our prayers go to the people of France. That's not enough. Action is required. Time is of the essence. Negotiation, ambivalence, or delay.
are not acceptable.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz said the president cannot defeat an enemy he refuses to name.
His ears.
Chief willing to utter the words radical Islamic terrorism because it is the Islamists who embrace this extreme political and theological philosophy. If we do not act, this terrorism, this violence will come to America.
And former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee called for immediate immigration control.
We need to close our borders.
Malala Yousafzai Muslim. She wouldn't drink beer.
France will close its borders. It's time for us to put a moratorium on people coming here.
And plus, she has better things to do with her life anyway.
Yeah, she's kind of being amazing.
Republican bottom line, ISIS terror
Like, she
is a
doesn't have
global
time to
menace,
hang out
and
and
this
drink
is
a
now
beer.
a civilization-defining war.
She's too busy peeking at girls from the importance of education. And yeah, Stephanie was like, shut. I feel like you like to be part of the show. I feel like you're part of the like Michelle might be like, you're too long. Everyone's not. I was like, still.
Shut down in me. I know
You diet, you exercise, and if you still need help lowering your blood sugar, this is Jardiance. Along with diet and exercise, Jardiance works around the clock to lower blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes. It works by helping your body to give the most amount of sugar it doesn't need for urination. This can help you lower blood sugar and A1C. And although it's not for weight loss or lowering systolic blood pressure, Jardiance could help with both. Jardiance can cause serious side effects, including dehydration. This can cause you to feel dizzy, faint, or lightheaded, or lack of understanding. Other side effects are joint yeast infections, urinary tract infections, changes in your and increased bad cholesterol. Do not take Jardiance if you are on dialysis or have severe kidney problems. Start taking Jardiance. You have symptoms of take Jardiance with a sulfonylurea gland that may cause blood pressure.
And they're like, it's a contradiction. That's too much. Then Indian, Catholic, Christianity. What are they doing?
All you need to do something for them. Gold Bond Healing Hand Cream. 7 moisturizers, 3 vitamins, keep skin hydrated, youthful, healthy looking, even after washing. Get your hands on it. Gold Bond, ultimate lotion, ultimate skin.
Dear Wayfair, for my home this holiday, I
It's judgment day, and seat ships moving inside you. But you cleaned up all the big dumb business for me. It's been easy. So the only thing they see.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yes, we are twins. When I go to Ancestry, I just put in the name of my parents and my grandparents. I was getting all these leaves, and I was going back generation after generation.
Hi guys, my name's Tara Toby. I'm the Deputy Field Director for the state of Iowa. Hello! Hi! Alright, we have about 10 minutes until they get to the pre-show, so we can watch Bernie do so well tonight on CBS. But until then, I figure we can talk a little bit. Yeah, thank you, Marco. So we have 79 days until the Iowa caucuses. Did anybody know that? 79 days? Anybody? 79 days! Okay, so as everybody has told you so far, we're going to need all of your help to go out to your precinct caucuses and support Bernie so we can win the nomination and then the presidency. Okay, so I figured a fun little exercise could be going around and telling us why you support Bernie Sanders, or what you did today that Bernie would be proud of. All right? We're gonna start. I promise you this. Bernie shirt.
Hey! My name's Jonah. Hey, Jonah! I think Bernie would be proud of me because I'm wearing this shirt.
Thank you, Jonah. Let's walk back here a little bit. Why do you support Bernie Sanders, or why would Bernie be proud of you today? What did you do? Let's go, let's go. Quit hiding from me. Marco!
Hello, everyone. I want Bernie to be president because I'm sick and tired of hearing the establishment media, and I want to listen to Bernie Sanders and no one else.
Thank you, Marco. We're going to go down to Tom. Tom, he makes phone calls on Wednesdays. I love him. Here's Tom. Stand up.
My name's Tom. I've lived in Iowa my whole life. I'm 57 years old, and this is the first time since George McGovern in 1972 that I've been able to support someone who could actually get on national TV and have a serious chance of becoming president. I am tired of having to vote every fucking time for either a corporate Republican or a corporate Democrat.
Who's next? Let's go to a nurse if we can. Can you tell us why you came out here to knock doors and why you support Bernie? Here.
We're here from Kansas City with the National Nurses United. We support Bernie Sanders. We think he's true blue, he's honest.
So it's just me and her, so we can get back to her.
He is a family man. There's absolutely no scandal attached to him, and he will remain that way. And we have faith in him.
Thank you! Let's talk a little bit more about Bernie. What did you do today that Bernie Sanders would be proud of, or why you support Bernie? Or both.
Yeah, I'll do. Oh. Well, as far as like something that Bernie would be proud of. Oh, my name's Sarai. Hi. I go to Drake, but I hail from Chicago. So, and today, I think Bernie would be proud. I didn't go to his tailgate because I was working for my education. So, then I finished up so I could come here. And the reason I support Bernie is because I think that he is a truly compassionate man. I think that he actually cares about the people that he talks about. And I think he cares. I was a canvasser for NARAL this past fall. So I think that he truly cares about women, and I think that he wants to protect their bodies, and I think he truly cares about queer people, and I just really like musicals, super cool dude.
Who's next? I see a hand over here. All right, we'll go here, pass down the mic. Name, why you support Bernie, what did you do today that Bernie Sanders would be proud of? Pass down.
Oh, my phone just dropped. Oh, well, I'll check out that later. Hi, I'm Andy, and I'm an alcoholic. Oh, sorry. I support Bernie Sanders because he wants to eradicate the student loan debt crisis, which I am a victim of. I support Bernie Sanders because he talks about the fact that America is not a democracy, it is an oligarchy that is controlled by a small handful of billionaires. And Bernie Sanders would be proud of me today because I donated $50 to his campaign this morning.
My name's Mark.
I came all the way from Omaha with my friends and my roommates. That's why he'd be proud of us. And I'm proud of Bernie because he has the wisdom to understand that problems like race and our mass incarceration problem have something to do with the legalization of marijuana, and he has the courage to stand up for an issue like that. And as a young person, I'm proud to have about that issue.
Name, where you're from, why you support Bernie Sanders, and what did you do today that Bernie would be proud of you for?
I'm Sally. I live in Des Moines. I teach at Drake. And I support Bernie because I've been supporting him since he first ran for Congress, because these have always been his values. And I think, to me, I think they are also his Jewish values that he has always remained true to, that caring for the poor, being against someone else put, as he's put it, the oligarchy, and actually wanting democratic socialism. The Democratic Party has been too neoliberal, and Bernie is not just following the polls, but he truly believes what he's talking about.
My name is Adina. I'm from Ankeny, and I want Bernie to be president because he's compassionate, and because I'm a female and I'm going to college next year, and I don't want to be in debt for the rest of my life. This is a little intimidating. My name's Isla, and I also live in Ankeny, and I think Bernie's awesome because there's no BS attached to it. Sorry, I don't want to curse them. And I just think he honestly cares about people, and he's not there for the publicity. He's not there to, make stuff up. I honestly think he cares about people, and that's why I care about him. So. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm from Minneapolis.
As you can tell, there are people from other states here.
Because he's here to make a difference, and he's not here to win.
Who's next? Back here. We'll come to you next. Stand up. We'll pass down.
Hello, my name is Derek. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I support Bernie because he's not flip-flopping on issues. He's very consistent with his record. He wants to get money out of politics, and he wants to decrease the defense spending budget and actually spend it on things that matter, such as like a single-payer healthcare system and eradicating the student debt crisis. The way I helped Bernie, this local TV news station for Illinois filmed me today, and I took off my sweatshirt and I had this Bernie shirt under here. I took off.